Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the supportive viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Jacksonville. A couple of years ago, we introduced you to a man who moved to Jacksonville that didn't really know anybody here and bought an old church and two old mansions that weren't in the best of shape at the time, and had the design of bringing these back to life. One to be a performance arts venue, one to be a bed and breakfast, one to be an apartment building. Well, that project's going along, and as you look behind me here at the Ayers house, this is part of that project, and it's almost completely finished and ready to go. And Scotty DeWolf, this has been one heck of a project, hasn't it?
It's the wildest three-dimensional rodeo I've ever been on in my whole life.
If you say the Ayers house in Jacksonville, people know who that is.
They know that because he and his brother and their mother had the biggest impact on the economy and the growth of the area at the time. Because they had the brick factory, they had the blacksmith shop, they had the tile throwing shop, they had the sawmill, the fine woodworking shop on the staircase.
Wasn't he a banker too?
Yes, and he was also
so
in the
he had all the
banking
money
business.
as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And his father came here, of course, in 1830 when he was 3 years old, and his brother was 7. And then he grew them up in the banking business and the retail business downtown. And when he died at 50 of cholera, he gave them the 6 1/4 acres, and they built on it. By the time he died in 1902, he owned all the way down to the other house and all the way down to the hospital, and the land the hospital sits on was donated by the Ayers family.
Now, this was built in 18 what?
Well, it was built, they started building it in 1855. And it was completed, and they moved in May of 1857.
And you've been working on it, or not you personally,
yes,
but you have some craftsmen that have been working on it for what, a couple of years?
2.5 years.
Last time we looked at it, it was kind of a mess. It was real dusty in there, and they were just taking it apart.
And the plaster was falling, everything.
Yeah. It's a beauty now.
Yeah.
There's one thing on the front as we look at it that you still need to do.
Yes, we still need to do that. And what happened is, after $2 million plus, I plumb ran out of money.
And you mean the porch?
The porch, right. Yeah. And I ran out of money before that, but God bless them, the folks, the Becker family, Joy Elizabeth and Kristen at the Farmers State Bank believed in me and gave me a loan where nobody would do that because they're very community minded. And they knew I was going to do something good for the community.
Now your plan is to make a bed and breakfast out of this.
Yes.
And it will be called what?
It'll be called, at the suggestion of my Florence, Italy design team, they insisted I call it Villa DeWolf because they said when they designed this, they felt they were back home in Florence because they said this is a distinctively Italianate house with so many Italian details, Tuscan arches you can see on the top there and the cupola. So they said that they felt they were very much at home. They said, call your place the Villa, not just a bed and breakfast.
Gotcha. So we get a chance to go in and actually see all the Italianate details, which are very nearly finished right now, aren't they?
Very nearly finished. I would say we're 94, 95%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a fundraiser, a telethon, to raise the extra $150,000 I need to get all my tax credits to get another $350,000, and then the Esprit Decor Academy youth school for music and performing arts will be launched, and this will become an economic engine to sustain that in my lifetime and after, because in my trust I'm leaving this building and the church building, which is now a theater, to the nonprofit so it can have organically grown revenue all the time.
Well, that's terrific. Let's go in and take a look.
Sure.
Well, Scotty, I'd say you got yourself a grand entrance.
Well, thank you. You saw it when you saw the before.
It didn't look anything like this. Oh, it's so beautiful and spacious and clean.
Thank you.
Everything is spotless.
Thank you.
The beautiful original floors. We got a story about the floors, don't we?
Yes,
because
yes.
Under this are the original pine floors.
Original red pine.
And we'll be able to show that.
Yes.
And they overlaid this hardwood on top of that.
Yes, they
That's
did.
very clever.
Over the years.
The staircase is grand, and what's really nice about that, it's one of these winding staircases that goes all the way to the third floor.
Fully suspended.
So you get a really great effect when you get up there and look down, or if you look up, you get a great effect from the stairway.
Yes, it's rarely you see 3 levels of a fully suspended staircase.
And the mirror, that actually came, we talked about this being an Italianate house.
Italianate house, so my design team of Davide Rocchi and Jerry Ingram, a native of Jacksonville, found that mirror for me. And it's a beautiful 190-year-old Italian mirror.
Just getting it here was a real chore, I'm sure. Now, I have just glimpsed at your ballroom, and it's a stunner. Can we go in there first?
Yeah, that is our piece de resistance, as they say in France. Welcome to the ballroom.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Oh. And this always was a ballroom, wasn't it? That's what they used it for.
Yes.
So it would have been open just like this with some seating, but mostly open.
Yes, there was never any furniture in the middle. It was always ready for the next dance.
Oh,
and during the Civil War, many an officer friend of theirs would come with their wives and dance in their hoop skirt gowns here, while the orchestra always played on the first landing, because in this bouncy live room, having an orchestra here would have been too loud, so they had the music upstairs.
So the music wafted in.
Wafted down that staircase.
Yeah. And then is this wallpaper? What is the artwork here?
Okay, the artwork here is very rare wallpaper from 1820, and it's called Monuments of Paris, and this would have been the Paris skyline outdoors along the Seine River, long before skyscraper buildings. And it was painted by an Italian artist, but the company that did it was from France, and this original wallpaper is so rare that there's less than 20 sets available left in the world, and there's only a place in London where you can see it fully displayed anymore.
How did they find it?
Well, an antiques dealer by the name of Ed Killam in town found it for me and negotiated a sale for me. It was very expensive, but I decided to do it because it gives this room an unforgettable experience for the guest. They'll never forget this room.
This, and the way you have it on panels, it's like each individual work of art. It's not like wallpaper at all.
That was Davide Rocchi, the architect, and Jerry Lee Ingram, the designer's idea. Because if they hadn't come along, I'd have done the wrong thing and just plastered it on the walls.
And you'd have spent a lot more money because it's so expensive.
And I owe a debt of gratitude. So all the decor you see, we got to credit to Jerry Lee and to Davide of Florence, Italy. He being a native here, and went to school there and met this architect, and they have been spending the last 15 years designing the most expensive resort in the world, which overlooks the whole Tuscan wine growing region, owned by Mrs. Ferragamo, who sold shoes for $10,000 a pair.
That name sounds familiar.
Multi-billion-dollar company, and they've been doing that job. So Jerry Lee reached out to me, not knowing me, and said, that's my hometown, and I want to make sure the restoration you're doing is going to be a credit to my hometown.
You lucky guy.
Should be. And I was so lucky.
You are.
And they came for peanuts and an airline ticket. And then when I talked to him on the phone, I said, I'd love to have my ceiling done with, in an Italian way, with clouds and sky to go in with the wallpaper. And they said, well, our friend that we go cafeing with on the weekends is 52-year-old Francesca Lorencic, and together she and these two guys, they make Vogue magazine, Condé Nast, Architectural Digest. They're very, very well known, and she's done major Italian government restorations and so forth.
It is exquisite. It's just exquisite.
She spent 12 days here on a scaffolding doing that.
Yeah, it blends in perfectly with the wallpaper.
Yes.
Now, these chandeliers are unusual too.
They're grand, and they're so rare. The only other pair known to exist are in the U.S. Senate chambers that they found in the basement about 30 years ago, and they were in pieces, and they lovingly restored them at great cost. And so when you go to the vestibule of the U.S. Senate chamber, you'll see these. The only difference is theirs has military figures on the top instead of the classic Italian detail. Otherwise, it's the same.
And these were in the house?
Yes.
And
they were in here, but they were all black and not working. Yeah. And they had to be rewired and restored by the Fish Fine Finishes in Springfield, who did the Edwards house. Wow. And they did a stunning job on the chandeliers.
They did. Oh. And you're going to use this as a music room. You've got your baby grand in here. You've moved it in.
On Sundays we plan high tea and music salon. This way the public don't have to buy an overnight room to see this. They can come any Sunday, and enjoy classical music or other acoustic music in here, and a high tea experience.
Yeah, and you can tell the acoustics are great because
Perfect.
you really get a nice little
bounce.
Yeah.
So when you have string quartet, it's just like being in a European salon.
Yeah. Well, Scotty, it was kind of customary in these big old homes to have a parlor on the left as you come in. Usually, I think that was the formal parlor.
Yes.
And then a less formal parlor on the right. In this case, they didn't do that. They had the ballroom on that side, and they had the formal parlor on this side. And it would have been used for, this is where you would receive guests, I guess.
Exactly. And after dinner, this was a favorite spot for Gus Ayers and his gentleman friends who would come after dinner and have their brandy and cigars here. So hence they would close these doors on the pocket doors, and you'll notice that's that Tuscan arch we were referring to.
Those doors are very unusual.
Very unusual. I don't think you'd find a pair like that in Springfield. They're 11 feet high, and it's in the Tuscan Italian tradition.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean that door has to be cut. It has to be huge, and it has to be cut
Exactly, and the doors still work. Now I'll tell you another old secret. There's plumbing runs behind this much space that we saved. The doors can only go this far closed.
Oh, okay.
But they can close all the way.
And when this is a B&B, this will be used for what?
This will be where guests can congregate and enjoy each other's company. And when we have the high tea and music salon next door in the ballroom, they can be waiting here for the event to happen, or they can come here and get away from the crowd or whatever.
Now, are these matching? These are not matching chandeliers to
no,
those.
These are less rare than the other because these have 4 lights, and those 6-light ballroom chandeliers are the very rare ones. And the reason why they're rare is because in the Civil War, in the scorched earth policy, 90% of those were sold to the Southern plantation homes, and those all went up in smoke, as you know.
Oh, okay.
That's why these are so rare.
Still lovely.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. Were they in the house?
They were in the house, but they were all black. Even that beautiful turned brass detail was all black from the years of coal fire and everything, and neglect.
Marble fireplace.
Marble fireplace. Now this is a domestic fireplace, but in the ballroom were the ones that were brought from Carrara, Italy.
That's really Italian marble.
Yes.
But this is
It's a local marble product.
Okay.
Yes.
But these were. This is original though. So the
original.
house.
Yes, all original. And there's 10 fireplaces in this house and 10 bathrooms.
Oh my goodness! There weren't always 10 bathrooms. You put the bathrooms.
Well,
in,
I put
right?
2 extra ones, but prior to me, well, yes, I did put all the extra ones in because all the suites each have their own bathroom.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's important.
Yes.
But 10 fireplaces.
Yes.
Well, you know, they were burning coal, I
And
imagine.
they had a big house to heat
a
with
big
very high
house,
ceilings.
Very high ceilings. What are they, 11?
They're 12 and a half feet.
12 and a half feet. Wow. That's really something. Okay, and then this will be, this was a dining room, and
This
it will be a dining room.
This was their formal dining room.
Yeah.
And where the restrooms are used to be an informal dining room, but we've usurped a lot of that already. For the restrooms we had to put in for the public events.
And when you have guests staying overnight here, this will be where they have breakfast.
Yes, I thought it'd be fun to do the old-fashioned way and let people eat communally and get a chance to get acquainted with each other, whereas otherwise they may not.
Yeah, yeah.
To give it an old-fashioned feeling.
How did you choose the wallpaper?
There's no wallpaper here. That's the beauty of it. You see, my design team of Roki and Ingram decided this. The fellow called from Italy and said, I've changed my mind. He originally had this the same color as that, and he said, in Italian, he said, we want to make it more Italian. And they do this a lot in their big villa.
So this
stores.
Is painted, it's not
It's
wallpaper.
painted on by his design, and he did the design.
Yeah.
And sent it over by Production Express, even though he was over here for a while. But then he went back. Mrs. Ferragamo needed him for a week and said, I'll send him right back. And by the time she sent him back, the COVID hit. And he's been trapped over there ever since.
Yeah.
And he's been trapped here because he has his home over there for 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was kind of a mixed blessing for you because he stayed here to help you out, didn't he?
Exactly. And because he's been here for this extended period, the decor has just gone through the roof, and it is truly a world-class effect they've gotten. Of course, working for the Ferragamos, you know? And he's just very pleased. And he was up until midnight. He said, don't tell him that. But I said he was up till way past midnight last night to make sure that everything was just right for the show today.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's one of those people that has a passionate commitment to excellence. And I love working with people like that.
Mayor Ezzard, sometimes you meet somebody that comes into town and, you know, they just have a world going on, and that's kind of the way Scotty is. He's been kind of a gift to this town, hasn't he?
You know what? We wish we would have had Scotty years and years ago, but we're really glad we got him now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a big project, and
Yes.
this place was not in the best of shape, and now it's a real asset to Jacksonville.
It sure is. I've driven by this place all my life, born and raised here, and I saw the deterioration of that. And for him to take that on, wow, it speaks volumes because, you know, like I said, he found Jacksonville. We didn't go out and search Scotty. He found us, and boy, we're happy about that.
Yep. This is going to be a different kind of a venue for people to come to Jacksonville to stay in. There's probably not anything really like that here.
There isn't, and that's the vision he has. You know, the first time he was kind of laying it out, what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it, I was like, oh boy. But you know what? If anybody can get that done, it's Scotty, and he's going to get it done because it's really close.
Well, Scotty, I hear your boots on this floor, and we mentioned the original floor earlier and how it had been covered with hardwood, but originally the whole house had this pine floor, didn't it?
Yes, and it still does, and the other floors were added over the years on top, because at that time when Gus had his sawmill and his brick factory, this was the only thing he could mill around here was the red pine. And you'll find it in a lot of old Jacksonville homes before the Civil War.
Well, it's really pretty.
Yes.
And it does last pretty well. You can see it's
I
still
thought
there.
it was worth saving.
Yeah. Now, for your early birds, when you have guests here, they'll be able to come in here if they're
Yes,
before
and get
breakfast.
delicious coffee and some fresh squeezed orange juice while they're waiting for breakfast.
That's a pretty piece right there, too.
Yeah, that's period correct to the house. That piece is from 1850.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
inside it has a compartment with a tin lining where you could have iced champagne in there.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice.
Yes.
Okay, and this would have been it's your kitchen now. It's your main kitchen, but
Yes.
it was always a kitchen. It was called a keeping
Kitchen
right?
because the actual cooking was done outdoors in a cookhouse.
Uh-huh.
And that way they didn't have a fire danger, and they also kept the food odors out of the house. And that was typical of the 1840s and 1850s.
And the original house ended here
It
with
ended
this wall.
here, and then in 1916, when the Hacketts moved in, they added on to there for maids' quarters and so forth.
Uh-huh. And of course, you've got your arched windows again
Yes,
over
we're
there.
seeing the
there's your-
Tuscan
there's your
Italian
Tuscan
influence
look
all
again.
over again.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that's
we're going to
a-
see that upstairs too.
Yeah.
It's amazing, even in the kitchen. That's such a beautiful touch.
Well, Scotty, when you get up these marvelous staircase, you get to the suites, the level with the suites, the second floor, and the first one on your right
Yes.
gives you a sense of real modernism. It's very modern in
Yes,
this old
he likes to
classical-
mix the old and the new.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the design guys.
He loves the black and white and gray, doesn't he? Well, it's a very clean look.
Yes. And the artwork is original to him, and he's donated all this wonderful artwork to me. It's amazing.
That is remarkable.
Yes.
Wow, this is very, very, very comfortable looking. Really nice. And you've got, what, 4 suites
We've
on
got
this
4
level?
rooms, and all of them have their own
And all-
ensuite baths.
All have, okay, well, we're going to show one of those bathrooms
Yes,
then
in the
because
later, yes.
everybody wants to.
And
wants
this is
to
one
see
of the
that.
few fireplaces that's one of a kind here. This is a painted, decorated fireplace.
Was this original in the house?
This is original to the house, yes.
Okay, we mentioned 10 fireplaces.
10 fireplaces,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you imagine? That's a full-time job, keeping all those
I
fires just
know.
going.
They had to have a staff.
And I want to see this bathroom as long as we're here too. You
Sure.
said the bathrooms are all designed very much the same, aren't they?
Yes, very similar.
And again, the black and white theme again.
And you notice you got
and the
the
gray.
push button light fixtures.
Just like
too.
the old-fashioned
Yes.
kind, huh? Yeah. Boy, that's a nice look.
Yes.
That is a nice look, and the vanity is real Italian and modern. Yeah, neat.
Yes. Yeah, the Italian touch is everywhere. He said, what do you expect from a couple of dudes from Florence?
And then there's this pleasant area right in the middle,
Yes.
a seating area, and it gets all this light, all this natural light.
Yes, and this is a classic example of their international design style, you know, that they're known for in Europe, and that's why they get in the Architectural Digest and Vogue magazines and things.
Oh, there's your
There's
arch
the
again.
Tuscan arch again,
Yeah, yeah.
and they created this balance. See, there was plumbing runs in here, and they covered them so you don't even know they were there. And matched it on the other side. It looks like it's always been
Oh, I
there.
see. So the plumbing was only on one side,
One
but they
was
went
actually
ahead
on
and
this
matched.
side, yes.
Oh, it was on
it
this side, and
exposed
they matched
pipes
it.
would have looked awful,
Yeah.
and that's the architect's design from Italy.
Did they do the horse for you, just for you?
Yes, that horse was done for me, and also he said the only homage he's going to pay to the crazy cowboy that owns the house is that rug with a skin-on cowhide and that horse. He said, don't ask for any lodgepole furniture, it ain't going to happen.
Okay, suite number 3.
Yes. And again, all original artwork by Jerry Lee Ingram.
Mm-hmm. Boy, is he talented. And
Yes.
of course, he designed, and he was able to, did he install that wallpaper on those murals down in the ballroom? Did he do that?
No, he didn't, but he supervised it and had the painter lady, and worked with her side by side to make sure it was done correctly.
Wow.
All had to be put on separate, expensive Sintra acid-free panels, so that in case there's ever a disaster of water coming down in the plumbing for some reason, they can rescue that very valuable wallpaper and take it off section by section with Velcro, and then put it back again.
Okay. All right.
And
Now there's one suite that's different, right?
Yes.
And why did you choose to make one of them red?
Well, because this was a kind of a feminine touch in here, and Mrs. Ayers, the mother, Eliza Freitag Ayers, that we saw the painting of downstairs, she lived here after she was no longer could handle herself in the house next door when she got elderly, and she stayed here.
Okay, so this is for her and for the ladies that might want something a little more passionate than black and white.
And this will probably be one of our most popular suites.
I would suspect so.
Because it's a dramatic and very nice old 100-year-old carpet too.
And this is a very unusual feature because you don't see this anywhere else in the house. Are we covering up something here?
Yes, we're covering up a window where we had to enclose this. The window used to go to the outdoors, and then we had to enclose and put a wall there because for a fire stair access that had to be mandated by the fire department.
Now I want to show this bathroom too because this is different. I mean, we've
put the light on. And,
I will. It's not.
Okay.
I think it's already on.
It's already on.
So yeah, it's quite different.
Yes.
Now the floor is the same.
And he's coordinated all the colors so nicely.
Yeah, you made it red to match the room, and this looks. Of course, this has a lot of red in it too.
Yeah, this is one of the finest. This is the finest piece of furniture in the whole house, and this is actually looks French, but it's from Germany, from the year 1840, and it took very delicate artists to create brass lace that went over a faux tortoise shell. And this curve is not steamed wood, but they had to literally take wood that big and carve out an S-shaped piece for it.
Where did you find it?
It was found for me by Ed Killam of the local Antiquarius Antiques, and he knew I needed exceptional things, and he went on a hunt and found the things I needed for this house.
Wow. Well, Scotty, we're on the third floor now, and this is interesting because this shows that we saw all the finished product.
Yes.
This still has a little work in progress to go, but your intention is to make this a family suite, big enough for a family with 2 or 3 kids.
Yes, or more, because you're going to have 2 sleeper sofas here and a big king-size thing for mom and dad. And this way, young families with baby arms, they can run up the 3 flights of stairs, but I won't sell it to a senior.
And
so it's just perfect.
Yeah, you have a little kitchenette here.
Yes.
There's the master, and there's the bathroom back over
and
there.
We
And you
purposely
can
did
see
this so mom and dad can do their makeup or shaving, and then the kids can use the other part of the
It's kind of
toilet.
neat too because you've got the exposed brick. You know, you can see what this.
And that's going to stay like
Really,
that.
really neat. And then they would have access to the rest of this floor as well, which is kind of a public area.
Yes.
And you still have some work to do here, but it'll happen, won't it?
Yes.
And this is kind of nice because you've made a reading room / library out of this space.
Yes, media and library. Classic old library with the old bookcases.
Those bookcases came, we mentioned that you had bought an old church.
Yes, and they came from the church when they built the school in 1920. These are from the year 1920. And they're modulars, hence we were able to frame the window.
Yeah.
And then the Verdon Book Company in Verdon Books on the Square in Springfield did all the library. Custom library, so it's an honor system. People can check out books, take them to their room.
That's nice.
Yes.
And if they're high tech folks, if they're not wanting to read, there's a place for their computer to charge and all that.
And then they can
stuff.
bring light onto their subject or not.
That's neat.
And no wires to trip on. And this came from the church too. This was the big conference table in the pastor's parlor.
Yeah. Well, that is nice. This is going to be a real gift. It really is. Scotty, throughout this tour, we've been looking at there's original artwork all over this house, usually by like one photographer and one painter.
Yes.
But this is a different piece of work here, isn't it?
Yes, this is an original painting of Abraham Lincoln. I commissioned one of California's best-known portrait artists, Ron Keyes, Keas, and he did this for me, and I commissioned it. The minute I bought the house, I knew I wanted a Lincoln painting here. and I knew he would knock it out of the park. And that painting is just magical when you stop and look at it.
It's very familiar because it comes right from a photograph
From a
that a lot of
photograph.
people have seen.
Yes,
Yeah.
and as did all the other paintings of this scene of him, the old paintings, but they weren't near as nice as this one. And then Ron, God bless him, gifted me a huge painting of the newly found picture, the daguerreotype of Augustus Ayers, the son that built this house.
Right.
And he sent it. It's a huge, beautiful masterpiece-sized painting,
Yeah.
and we're going to find a special place for it in the house, so that for the first time when people see it, it'll be the first time they've had a chance to even know what Ayers looked like. And I found the photograph in an archive in Texas at Rice University at Woodson Library, in an obscurity just tucked away that nobody would have known about if I hadn't researched.
Well, Scotty, thanks and best of luck on your venture here.
Well, thank you. It was so good to have
Yeah,
you come back
okay.
and see the after effects since you saw the before.
Yes, we did. Thank you, sir. Well, after years of preparation, the DeWolf Bed and Breakfast plans to be open this summer. With another Illinois story in Jacksonville, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.